Hi everyone, it's 𝗕𝗢𝗢𝗢𝗓𝗖𝗓 here. I'm a transformational coach and I help people transform their lives by changing their habits. I had stage 3 bowel cancer in 2018 and I changed everything in my life. And as a result of that, I finished 12 sessions of chemotherapy feeling the strongest and the happiest I had ever been. And since then, I have made my mission to help people to transform their lives by doing the same. By really mirroring, the formula that I follow in the process of healing. But today I'm going to be talking about what the fear of death taught me. I was only 38 years old when I was diagnosed with cancer. And not in a million years, I thought I was going to get that diagnosis. And on top of that, at 38 years old, you don't think about death, right? You just go about your day and about your life, and you just think that, it's never going to happen to you. Let's be honest, right? Like there is nobody that, you meet that are in their kind of, late 30s, 40s or 50s that even think about. I mean, to be honest, I don't think it's a thought that our culture really wants us to think about. It's almost like, oh my God, it's the only certainty we have, but people don't want to think about it. It's the inevitable, but nobody wants to really sit with the thought. And as I was diagnosed and my diagnosis was confirmed, I had to wait a month between my emergency treatment to the start of chemotherapy. And, although it was a confirmation, they were still doing the biopsy and, they were still kind of putting a plan together about what they're going to do with myself, like around the treatment. And I spent 2 weeks in a very, very dark place. All I could think about was cancer equals death. There is no way I'm going to survive this. Chemotherapy is just going to kill me. I didn't have anyone to really relate to. I hadn't really had anyone close to me who had gone through treatment. And I was in this really dark place, like waking up, thinking about my funeral, going to bed, thinking about my funeral every single day. Like really, really kind of my whole life was consumed by that thought and the feeling of dread and the fear of dying. And one day I went to see the pastor in my church, and he didn't exactly know what was going on. He knew I was sick, so I explained to him, look, I've got stage 3 bowel cancer. I'm gonna have to do treatment, but I was sobbing by this time. I'm just like, I can't die, like I have got 2 kids, they're only 6 and 4, they need me. And he looked at me and said, Angelica, what do you think is going to happen when you die? And when somebody asks me a question, I always want to stop and think and answer the question appropriately, right? So I just stopped and I thought to myself, what my kids' life was going to be like if I wasn't around. And I started imagining with my husband, him telling them, look, mom's not here anymore. Mom died and you have to go to school and you have to, keep going. And he had to go to work. And I just kept thinking about this. And as I kept thinking about it, it was almost like as if I was holding my breath and the whole world had stopped. And I realized that nothing was going to happen. And as I said that to the pastor, and I said, well, nothing's going to happen. My kids are going to have to get on with life. My husband's going to have to get on with life. And that's about it. And he said, yes, precisely. Do you think your kids are going to be the first, kids that are going to grow up without mom? And I said, no. And that sounds pretty harsh for some people, but that is what I needed to hear in that moment. I spent literally 2 years crying every day and thinking about death. Well, I did not know if I was going to die or when I was going to die or how I was going to die. And it was almost as if I was planning that was something that was going to happen in the process of my self-healing, or having chemo, or doing whatever I was going to do. And I needed somebody to say to me, stop. Stop thinking about this. Everyone's going to die, but you need to stop thinking about this right now, because you me, and nobody knows when you're gonna die, how you're gonna die, and what the future looks like. So for me, it was very apparent that I needed to stop focusing on dying so I could focus on living. That whole focus on dying was consuming me, and I needed to stop myself so I could start living. And as I left his office, I felt like I left like 200 kilos behind me, because I didn't have to worry about anymore. You know, that thing that was consuming me every day, and I could live my life. And it was almost like as if I had left the fear of dying there, and I thought to myself, I need to live my life now. That's all I have. Which leads me to the second point, which is nobody wants to think about this, but we are all going to die. And as hard as this is to hear when you're 20s, 30s, 40s, it's the only certainty we have in this life. We are all going to die. So making the most of life every day is all we have on the present moment. And it sounds like super cliche, but if we're not doing that, then we fear living, right? If we're telling ourselves, oh, I'm gonna wait until life gets less stressful, then I'm gonna change a job, or I'm gonna start my business, or I'm going to focus on my health, then I'm gonna lose my, the weight, or I'm going to, divorce my husband who I'm really unhappy with, or I'm going to divorce my wife who I'm really unhappy with. Like, we are all going to die, and all we've got is now. And if you're not living the life that you want now, like, you need to change something. And I ask myself all the time that question, when things starts getting stressful, it starts getting like out of balance, I ask myself, what can I do to get myself back into balance so I can live in the now, and I can stop the fear of living, and how can I stop feeling, stressed, frustrated, so I can live in the now in the most beautiful state that I can. Because we are all gonna die, and I don't want to have any regrets. I don't want to live a life that I don't want to live. I don't want to be, spending, weeks, days, and months feeling stressed and frustrated. I want to live the life that I want now. And I think that's really, really an important point for us to remind ourselves. Because when we don't remind ourselves, we're just either keep thinking about, the past, which drags us, ourselves back into kind of keep dragging this emotional baggage or whatever, baggage that we have of regrets or guilt or whatever. Or we keep thinking about a future that really in reality is just an illusion, because we are not there yet. And we don't know if we're going to be there. And the third one is borrow some pain from the future. So you take action now. I feel really blessed that I went through this experience of cancer, because it really brought to light that, the what ifs, the fear, the living without purpose, not really living my path. It was really damaging my health, and I had a limited amount of time to make that happen, to make those changes, so I could live the happiest I could right now. And as I sat in reception, to wait for my chemotherapy treatment, I saw people that were 20, 30 years older than me. And as I saw them struggling to get out of their chair, I thought to myself, I do not want to be in this chair again. I am going to do whatever I can not to ever come back to this place. And I am going to do whatever changes I need to heal myself. People tell me all the time that they like discipline, that they like motivation. We build motivation, we build discipline. During chemotherapy treatment, when I was sick as a dog, I used to remind myself, remember that person who, the nurse called and took that person 10 minutes to get out of their chair. Do you want to be that person? So get yourself up and go for a walk. We are very much driven, to pain, unfortunately. There is some pleasure in it, but the more I work with people, that I realize that, if we can visualize ourselves, do I want this pain? That's when, when you think about changing, it gets so bad that you're in so much suffering, so much pain, that you're like, what, I've had enough. I need to change, and I need to do it right now. So when you borrow some pain from the future, you start taking action, and you start building the discipline and the commitment that you need to start achieving the goals that you want. So guys, just a quick recap here. Being faced with my own death, the fear of dying, taught me that I needed to stop focusing on dying so I could focus on living. And although you might not be focusing on dying, you perhaps are focusing on the past and on the future, and you're not focusing on what you can do right now, which leads us to the second point, which is we are all going to die. So you need to make the most of what you've got now. And if you don't like it, you need to change it. If things are not going well, you need to change it now. And when you borrow some pain from the future, you can start, really creating this motivation, the discipline to do the hard things, to change the things that seem impossible to us right now, which I have done in my journey. When I did it, I didn't think that a walk around the block was going to help me to get to the healthiest, place in my life after chemo and at 42 years old. I didn't think that. I just kept going, putting one foot in front of the other, and kept going and believing and trusting that I did not want to be in that pain again in the future. So therefore, I needed to do something now. Guys, hopefully this helps you to get motivated, inspired to take action, to live the life that you want right now. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. So subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on the next video. And if you want to share this with anybody that wants to hear this message, it will mean the world to me. Thank you so much for being here. If you want to ask any questions as well, please feel free to comment below, and I'll be more than happy to answer them. Thank you so much again, guys, for being here.